And now is the grammar of editing. So I want you guys to remember these basic video terminology. I want to spend the majority of our class this time to really talk about editing because it's a huge part of video production. Actually, video editing is what got me into liking video production. I did not really know how to film. I got taught the same time as everybody else, but I picked up editing way quicker than filming, and I really, really love editing. So these are the basic video editing terminology. A cut. What's a cut? Is either a cut or a cutaway. That's an instant change from one shot to the next, okay? When you see one shot to the next, that's a cut. A dissolve or fade. So that means it looks like a fade from the ending of one shot into the beginning of another shot. In and out. That's the start and end of the shot you want to use. So in is the start and out is the end. SOT, which you guys have learned from before, means sound on tape. It's a short clip taken from an interview, also referred as a sound bite. So if you want more of the grammar of editing in a glossary, I gave you a link. It's very long, old school textbook, but has a lot of great information if you want to learn more. These are the most important things that you guys should be looking for when you're editing. Pacing. Pacing is the rhythm of cuts or how long a shot is on screen. This is a quote that I found. Pacing isn't always related to the actual timing of your cutting. In fact, it's more often related to how quickly you deliver plot points and story information. A pacing is when you give the viewer time to register each shot, but not too much where it starts to bore the viewer. So one shot, I would say, should stay on screen anywhere from 2 to 8 seconds, depending on how interesting a shot is and how much time a viewer needs to register what's going on. Normally, a close-up needs a bit more time than a wide shot, because a wide shot, you don't really have that many details to look at because it's quite wide, but close-ups, people tend to kind of look at the small details because now everything is so much more closer to your eye. The subject of a film can dictate the pacing. So for example, if I did a video on a college football player, that story can have way quicker pacing than if I were to do a story about a painter who uses brushes, and that might take a longer stride. Match cuts are continuity of action. So what is that? Okay. A match cut is when the action appears to be continuous, cutting from one shot to the next. And this is super important when you're editing together a sequence to continue the action. Now, for the next part, I want you to look at this video that I'm about to send you. It's called The Grammar of Editing, Match Cuts. They did a really great job explaining what is a match cut with this guy tying his shoelaces. So please go watch that. So as you can see, a match cut, if you cut it so the guy already went down and tied the shoelaces, it just looks, your brain just thinks, oh, something is weird with that shot. So a match cut is something that if you were to view it yourself and you think the shots make sense and is in order, then everything is good. But the minute you think something is off, your brain tells you something is off. So trust your instincts with this. Then it means that something with the pacing or the match cut isn't quite there. A jump cut. So a jump cut are when two shots are edited next to each other. So here's a GIF. Okay. Most students commonly make this mistake with interview shots. What this means is that they don't really cover their interview footage with B-roll, so the interview shots look like a jump cut. So as you can see below, this is an example of a jump cut with this woman. And in order to fill that space, you need to put B-roll over it. So how do you fix jump cuts? You cover your cuts with B-roll or photos, or you use a completely different angle of the shot. So if you were shooting your interview with two cameras, so one's your regular shot and then one maybe on the side, then you can jump to that shot. But most of you guys only have one camera, so you can't really do that. But if you do have two cameras, the rule is that the two cameras need to be 30 degrees apart. So as you can see here, that this is the B-roll that cover the cuts. So 180 degree rule. I kind of ran through this before, but I'm going to run through it again. 180-degree rule is when two characters in the scene should maintain the same left or right relationship to each other. I want you to watch this video that does a really good job in explaining 180-degree rule. So now the introduction to Adobe Premiere Pro. A lot of people in the industry now uses that. It used to be Final Cut Pro 7, but once they upgraded to the X, people then switch over to Premiere Pro. So the industry standard is Premiere Pro. So AJ and Roy did a really great job on actually filming this together. So I want you guys to watch how to prepare your project folder, setting up Adobe Premiere Pro, and basic editing technique. And then I'm going to get back and then I'll come right back to you.
What's up, everyone? On today's episode, we're going to show you how to set up a project folder. Now, setting up a project folder is simple, but knowing why we do so is very important. We do it because we're trying to avoid something that looks like this, the dreaded media offline warning. Now, you know it's bad because it's a bright red window telling you in 10 different languages that your media is offline. By media offline, what Premiere is saying is, hey dude, can't find your stuff. By stuff, I mean your video files, your audio files, your image files, all those files that you want to use for your video project, your editing software can't find. So that's what we're trying to do by setting up a project folder, is to avoid that. So let's get to it. First things first, what I'm going to do is open up my external hard drive, like so. And in my external hard drive, I'm going to create a new folder. This new folder is the project folder. So right click, click new folder. I'm going to name it like so. I'm going to use a date first, and then I'm going to follow it up with 2 or 3 words that describe the project. So in this case, today's February 23rd. And then just to name it, project folder demo, and hit enter. And I'm done with my project folder. Simple. But just to go one step further, I'm going to make another folder, and this folder is going to hold all of my video clips. So again, right-click new folder, and then I'll just name it clips. All right. Now, if you are working on a project that has 2 cameras, or maybe you're doing a multi-day shoot, you might want to make different folders for different purposes. So if I had 2 cameras, I might make one folder be Cam A and another folder be Cam B. Or if it's a multi-day shoot, I might have day 1, day 2, day 3. So it really depends on your organization for this project. In this case, we only have 1 camera for this, so I'm just going to have one folder called clips. Fortunately, Roy gave me a memory card with some clips in there, so I'm just going to drag those clips over into the clips folder. So here's about 6 clips. I'm going to highlight them all and drag them into my clips folder. Now make sure that the clips that you've highlighted are all transferred over. Sometimes you might miss 1 or 2, so just double check that. And there we go. All of my clips are in my project folder, and I'm pretty much ready to go video edit. So that's pretty much it. To recap, do the following. Step 1, make a folder on your external hard drive. Give it a name using the date and a couple of words to describe your project. Step 2, make a clips folder inside the project folder to hold your videos, audio, and images. And finally, step 3, throw those files inside the clips folder. And now you're pretty much ready to open up Adobe Premiere. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask us when you find us. But until then, we'll see you in the next episode where we'll talk about how to set up Adobe Premiere. Cool? All right, lates. What's up, everyone? On today's episode, we're going to talk about something you've all been waiting for. That's right, how to set up Adobe Premiere. Now, Premiere takes a little bit of time to load. That's normal functionality. It's Adobe's way of getting you into the right mindset to edit. All right, so here at the start window, there's not really much we can choose. So just hit new project since we've never opened up a project before. Okay, this new project window is very important for a couple of reasons, which I'll tell you in a second. But this part, everything from this part down, don't worry about it. Important thing number one, name. Go ahead and give your project a name. So I'll name it using the date, 2017, February 24th, and a couple words to describe your project. And the most important thing to note, it happens under location. Now under location, it's Premiere's way of telling you where it's planning to save its files. I want it to save its files on my external hard drive. I don't know where this folder is, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit Browse, navigate to my external hard drive, and under here, I'm just gonna click on my project folder. I'm not gonna highlight this folder, I'm just gonna make sure that the project folder itself is highlighted, and then hit Choose. Once you did that, go ahead and hit OK. So this is Adobe Premiere. Now you just came back from a shoot and you're excited to bring in your clips, so let's do just that. One of the easiest ways I found to import your clips is to double click on the project window. What will happen is a window will open up asking you to find your clips. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna select my clips folder and hit import. Alternatively, you can highlight the clips instead and hit import, but I like to select the folder that holds all those clips. All right. And now I know that my clips have been imported because that clips folder is inside this project window. If I double click on that folder, you can see all the clips that was inside that folder. Also, if you don't like that view, you can actually have it listed in list view and click this arrow to have it list out all the clips in your clips folder. Cool? So that's pretty much it when it comes to setting up Adobe Premiere. Just to recap a few important points. Number one, you want to make sure that you're saving to your project folder. So when you start a new project, make sure that the location is directed at your project folder in your external hard drive. Number two, you want to make sure that the editing workspace tab is selected so that your editing space looks neat. And then number three, to import your clips, all you gotta do is double click the project window and that will bring up the import dialog window. In the next episode, we're gonna start going over Adobe Premiere editing. So if you have any questions before then, feel free to ask us when you find us. Cool? All right, see you then. What's up everybody? On today's episode, we're going over basic video editing in Adobe Premiere. If you want to get caught up, click up here to check out last week's episode on how to set up Adobe Premiere. Let me guess, Roy put it in the description instead, didn't he? It's okay. All right, here we go. So last we left off, we just imported all of our video clips into Premiere. Before we actually get started, let me just talk about the interface of Adobe Premiere. In the bottom left, this is known as the project panel. Usually in this space, you'll have your video clips and audio clips and other assets listed here, right? And after that, if you go upwards, this is known as a source monitor. In the source monitor, you're usually going to be previewing and selecting parts of your clip that you want to edit. From there, we're going to go down to this area in the bottom right, which is known as the timeline. This is essentially your workspace for working on your video. When we load up a clip into the timeline, you'll see what that workspace looks like. And then finally, up here in the upper right is known as a program monitor. This program monitor will essentially show everything that's happening in your sequence in the timeline. And the last two things to note is this bar right here. This is your toolbar. And over here on the bottom right is your audio meter. Cool. All right, so let's try editing our first clip. Let's do that by double clicking on one of our clips. I'll double click this. All right, and that loads up the clip into the source monitor. In this window, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna select a portion of the clip. My clip here is 13 seconds and I only want a few seconds of it. To do that is I'm gonna move my playhead to the beginning of what I want. So in this case, right around here. And I'm gonna hit this button, the mark in button. And you'll notice in parentheses it says I, so you can hit I for in to mark that. So you'll notice this gray bar that gets created. Next what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play, or I'm gonna drag the playhead to the end of the part that I want. In this case, it's just a few seconds on, right around here. And then I'm gonna hit this button, mark out, or O for out. And you'll notice that this gray bar gets cut off up to this point. So essentially I've told Premiere, hey Premiere, I want everything from this point up to this point. Cool, that wasn't so hard. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drag this clip down into the timeline, like so. When I release it, notice two things. One, a sequence gets created in your timeline. And two, in the project panel, that sequence shows up in the list. And you'll know that this sequence is reflecting the sequence in the timeline because the names are the same. Cool. So now what I want to do is, just to make things easier for myself, I'm going to rename it to something more memorable. So in this case, it's a first draft demo sequence. Okay, so that was your first edit. Let's try it one more time on another clip. So I'm just gonna double click on the second clip. It loads into the source monitor. I'm gonna look for the beginning of that clip that I want. So maybe something like from here, I for in. And I'm gonna drag that playhead to the end of what I want, maybe around here. And O for out. And like last time, drag it into the timeline, like so. I'm just gonna move it right next to it. And then in the timeline, if you press the spacebar button, you can preview your masterpiece in progress, like so. And right now we have a 10-second video. Okay, let's do it one more time. Same process as before. Double click on a clip, and then hit your in and out point, so I for in, O for out, and then drag into the timeline, like so. Let's check it out one last time. Go to sit, take a bite of my granola bar, and then another bite of my granola bar. So that's pretty much all there is to basic video editing. All you gotta do is, from the project panel, double click on a clip to load it into the source monitor, pick your in and out points, and drag that video clip into the timeline. From there, it's just rinse and repeat. It's also known in the industry as 3-point editing. So there you go. In the next episode, we're gonna go over some more advanced features of Premiere, like text on screen. Catch us then. Lates!
So what are text slates? Well, there's 3 types of text on screen, or text slates. There's subtitles. That is the text you see bottom center of the screen. So this is the subtitles are the things that if I'm reading on like if the subtitles are the ones that shows up like right here in the bottom, that basically shows exactly what the person's saying. So word for word. Text slates are basically text that provides additional information to the story. Usually it's the biggest in size of the 3, and they just give you more details of the story. So you see a lot of text slates with social videos, for example. Lower thirds, that's the text that names a person or character on screen along with their job or profession. You will be doing a lot of text slates for a social video assignment, and because the social video assignment needs to be read for your mobile, if I were to shut off the audio, I should also be able to, I need you to remember to do subtitles for all your interviews. Remember that, okay? I want you guys to use the Hong Kong Free Press Style Guidelines for consistency. I give you a link right there. So to download the text, I'm doing this for the first time myself, but this is the Hong Kong Free Press video guidelines and font pack. The reason why we want you to use these ones is because they look the most standard, and that way the students can't go crazy with the font size. But okay, so this is a zip file, and you download here. Okay, so there is the elements and then the fonts, which I'm assuming just direct download to my inbox. All right, downloaded. I open it. So I went to my downloads now. Okay, so now I click on it, and these are my elements. These are my fonts. Okay, please install the fonts and insert computer. The on-screen graphics sits in the upper left corner and set to 65%. Capacity, let me see what that means. So I have to install these fonts. Font book. Let's install these fonts. And these are my elements. Okay. So I guess once that happens, you open this project file. And then now everything is set up. So I guess what they're telling you is that you can copy and paste this. So this is a feature. Wait, so here's the font. The font's right here, actually. All right. So you'll take this font and then you put it up. So what I just did here is that I made sure it's not on video 1, because if it's video 1, it would override this because I was copying and pasting. So you have to put this on video 3 because everything is empty there. You paste it, and then that is where his name is. The reason why it's showing as Korea right now is because I haven't refreshed my I haven't restarted my computer. So in order to do text, you go File, New, Legacy Title. That's like text slate 1. So if I want to put a text slate on this, I will go AMK is a microfinance company based in Siem Reap, Cambodia. That's my text. I'll go back to my text slate. Okay, so it should really be in here. Oh, yes, Open Sans. Okay, so now I got my Open Sans, which is the text, which is what Hong Kong Free Press uses for their titles. So bold and style. Make sure it's bold and style. So instead of light, you bold it. 62. That's the font size. 62. And maybe freely placed with appropriate padding. They are white in color, though keywords may also be blue. Hex. Okay, a black shadow underlay gray may be used if the title is too difficult to see. So now, because it's not difficult to see, you can put right here. And then, because you drag on this text slate. Oh, no, I want to be on this one. But normally, we do not put text slate and them talking at the same time. Interview sound bites has to be shown at a different spot than when the text slates are showing. So for example, if that is the case, if I were to put a text slate, maybe I'll put it right here. Let me see where I can put it. And put it right here. Like this. But don't forget audio. So audio levels should always be between -12 to -6. Anything that hits 0 should be peaking. That means the sound is distorted. It sounds really off. There are many ways of adjusting audio levels. I will show you one way you can do it. So here is a few ways you can adjust the audio channels, okay? So as I'm editing my own piece, right now it's only hitting -12 to -24. So if you stretch your audio channel down, there'll be a line and you can increase that line. See a lot of text slates with social videos, for example. Lower thirds. Another way of doing it is if you press G on your keyboard, you'll have a gain. And then you can then put a number, adjust gain by -5. So if you go +5, which is like 5, then everything will increase by 5. That's the text that names a person or character on screen along with your job. Okay. Or you can make it small, you can decrease the volume by -5. Job or profession, you won't be doing. So these are the two ways I will adjust audio. Doing a lot of text slates for a social video assignment. Make sure you set the audio to pan on both left and right channels. This means it will play audio on both ears on your headphones. That's basically what it means. So a lot of times, because what the audio box that you guys have naturally only records on one side of your ear, one side of the audio, you have to make sure it pans both left and right and it plays on both sides of your headphones. So I show you guys exactly how to do it. You identify the clip that needs panning, you right click on your audio channels, then you change the source to the side you want it to pan to, and then say OK. And if your audio has a rough end, make sure to use an audio fade, and I will show you that in my example later. So here are more details on how to actually make an edit. I'm going to give you an example, show you an example of some of the footage I took when I was at WSJ. I was in Cambodia and I filmed this man who is the CEO of this microfinance company in Siem Reap, and I interviewed him on his company. I'm going to show you an example of how I would edit this specific clip. Here's a bunch of clips that I personally filmed myself when I was out in Cambodia and I was filming this person, the CEO of a company, a microfinancing company. So this is my B-roll of him at his desk. Somebody comes here and talks to him. Okay. So now I'm going to pull in the interview clip, which is this one. So I'm going to drag it like this, and it'll have the exact same component, exact same settings as my actual clip. Now, if I want to edit the audio, I just have to drag it out this far. Okay, so this is 2 minutes. I want to edit this down to 30 seconds. I just want a brief introduction on his company.
AMK is microfinance institution licensed by National Bank of Cambodia to providing financial services to Cambodian people. We focus mainly in the rural area. AMK actually was established.
So I just want to cut here. So to cut, there's something called blade razor tool. I just press B myself, but you can just click on this. So either way it works, either on your keyboard, B, or just blazer. And so if you're not sure what each of them are, they'll tell you. So a selection tool is A, so this you can select everything. Track forward, I basically only use A and B. So selection and blazer. So anyways, I'm gonna make my cuts, my 2 cuts.
Okay.
One for the video, one for the audio. And then I'm gonna
purely come to Cambodia to microcredit is one of their programs. In the last 10 years, we've been moving from an NGO to a private entity.
So sure, I'm gonna make another cut here.
In the last 10 years, we've been.
So in order to zoom into this sequence, so you can see more of it like this, on your keyboard is addition and minus.
Moving from an NGO to a private entity. Again, still owned by a founder for many years, and from an NGO to a private entity.
So I'm gonna go right here.
Entity.
Okay, he says that. So I'm gonna delete this, select, delete, And then next one, next clip.
No, basically.
And then if you want to shorten the space between these two together, sorry about that. I'm gonna quit. So if you want to shorten between these two together, you just press delete, select, delete, and then everything just makes it shorter now.
Rural area. No, basically we do microfinance, so we do lending, we do taking deposit from public.
So
No, basically we do.
Okay.
We do microfinance, so we do lending, we do taking deposit from public. But when AMK was established, one thing we want to make sure is we actually offering quite inclusive financial services to poor villagers.
Okay. Doesn't want this quote. So I got A again. Select this, make it shorter.
Part of it. So you look at microcredit history, everyone focus on credit as almost standalone product. They need deposit, they need fund transfer, payment. So when we looking at ourselves, after doing credit for 10 years, we ask, what can we help our customer to protect themselves? Instead of just getting a loan and put deposit with us, anything can we do to helping them to protect themselves? That insurance is coming to our mind. That insurance actually can helping them.
Okay, here.
Anything can we do to helping them to protect themselves? Instead of just getting a loan and put deposit to protect themselves, we ask what.
Okay, so I just want to use these clips.
Loan and put deposit with us. Mind that insurance actually can helping them to protect their family from a shock.
Okay, so that's what I want. So this is
HKU is microfinance institution licensed by National Bank of Cambodia to providing financial services to Cambodian people. We focus mainly in the rural area. In the last 10 years, we've been moving from an NGO to a private entity. We do microfinance, so we do lending.
Okay, everything sounds good. Now, as you see, if I just play this, you see a jump cut
in the rural
from
area.
Here to here. It's very subtle. So that's a jump cut right there. In order to avoid jump cuts, what do? You fill it up, overlay it with B-roll. So I am going to first use this shot. So you can do it either here, let's view. So I'm gonna go my Y shot, walking to my desk. So I'm gonna go in, and then this is my out. Oops. So in, okay, and then you just drag it to cover it.
The rural area. In the last 10 years, we've been moving from.
Okay, then I want another shot because I want to make a sequence now, right? So for me to make a sequence, I need to get my next shot. So I love close-ups, so I'm gonna do a close-up of his face. So this is my in point and my out point, and then I'm gonna drag this over. Okay, next shot, I'm gonna have his keyboard. In, out, drag again. So that's a sequence.
In the rural area.
So that way now, I can now cover this and this cut.
In the rural area. In the last 10 years, we've been moving from an NGO to a private entity. We do microfinance, so we do lending, we do taking deposit from public. But when AMK was established, one thing we want to make sure is we actually offering quite inclusive financial.
So I'm now going to use, okay, so I took this shot. This is my rack focus. As you remember, rack focus is something that goes from sharp, and then sharp in the foreground, and then slowly fades into sharp in the background. You can do reverse as well. Okay, so now I'm going to use this shot to basically introduce this woman. but because the shot looks a little awkward, they're looking at me, so I don't want them to know.
Just have a chat. Oh, okay.
So I'm just going to use this wide shot instead. So it goes from this medium shot.
Poor villagers. We ask, what can.
And then I just want to use a shot of this woman. So my in, and then my out.
Can we help ourselves? Instead of just getting a loan and put deposit with us, anything can we do to?
And then I'm pretty much done. Except now you see in my audio that it's only playing in my left ear. Why do I know this? This is the left, this is the right. Left and right. So again, how do you fix that? I'm gonna select everything, right click, audio channels. As you can see, this clip right now is playing one and left and right. But if I want to play it all in the same one, I click it on one side, which is now all on the left. And voila, you can see now both these clips all have a left and right audio now.
Providing financial services to.
And then you can do this as well with your B-roll. As you can see, the B-roll, even though it's really tiny audio coming out, it's still not pan left and right. So make sure the channels all left and right, and now they all have it.
Entity.
Now, it might at one point sound a little awkward like this.
Private entity.
It doesn't sound that smooth. So in order to make it smoother, right click on the two audio clips. Okay. Right click, apply default transitions, shorten it, and then
entity. We do microfinance,
now
so
smoother.
We ask what can.
So like right now, the 2B roll doesn't sound good.
We ask what.
There's a little bit of a rough transition, so you do that for the B-roll as well, and then you do it for all of them. So I'm gonna do it for all of them, and then you adjust accordingly. And of course, you want the audio to hit. Oh, it's pretty good. Hit -12 to -16.
People.
-12 to -6.
In the rural area, from an NGO to a private entity. We do microfinance. So
if you want to lower the audio here, you just can drag it like this. Okay.
So we do lending.
And then that's it. You just got your first sequence.
Coming to us.
It's got your first sequence. So for your next class exercise and homework, I want you guys to edit a 30 to 45 second sequence using the B-roll that you shot of a classmate or now anybody, typing and looking at your computer. This is something that I've assigned you in the first week, and now I want you to use it for this week and edit together a sequence of them going into a classroom, sitting down, turning on the computer, reading the news, seeing something shocking, and then they turn off the computer and leave. So I want you to post a video on Facebook with this caption, exercise 2, number 2, editing sequence in your name. And the deadline will be February 10th at midnight. The reason why the deadline is so short is because you guys should already by now have the footage, and editing it together shouldn't take that long. If you guys don't have access to Adobe Premiere Pro, you can buy it with your student discount. I think you just go on and try to buy it. If you have any questions, ask Roy. You can also go to Elliott Hall. It's not closed, even though school is out. It's not closed. You can go to Elliott Hall and buy it. You can go to Elliott Hall and use Premiere Pro there. Unfortunately, we don't have an account for you guys to use, so you have to buy it on your own. And also, if you use your student discount, what you'll get is you get 1 year. It's like $1,100 and something. I forgot the price, but $1,000 something dollars. But it also includes After Effects, which we will use in class. I will show you in class. After Effects and Photoshop, which you might or might not use. So I would say go and grab it. You'll need that. And